Okay, so this one's going to be a little contentious, a little bit of an unusual opinion, because I think Godzilla against Mechagodzilla is one of the most underappreciated films in the franchise. From what I've seen, general consensus opinions of it seem to be that it's all right, it's fine. I thought it was awesome. I think it's definitely up in my top 10. It's easily one of my favorite Godzillas. It was really cool, 8 out of 10, no question. And the reasons why I think I like it so much more than the general public is because this movie clearly has influence taken from mecha anime and such works as like Neon Genesis Evangelion, which is like an absolute classic, one of the greatest anime ever created. It just has that sort of tone to it, you know? Like the main character is this woman who she feels like crap about herself because she blames herself for the death of a bunch of troops that worked under her, and she's kind of like, oh, like I don't deserve to live, kind of thing. But through like befriending this young girl who is reminded of her mother by this woman, she like wants to reach out and befriend her and like tells her no, like you're worth more than that, and also just the crazy ass plot. Okay, so what happens in this movie is there's this man who's like a scientist who takes ancient prehistoric creatures and he takes their fossilized bones or whatever and he constructs new bodies for them out of like mechanical parts that look like biological parts. He basically recreates dead animals, and he gets hired to build Mechagodzilla around the skeleton of the original Godzilla from 1954, the first one. And which doesn't make any logical sense whatsoever, but that's their excuse for it. So they build Mechagodzilla around the bones of the first one. And I gotta say that this Mechagodzilla might be my new favorite, because its design is kind of a happy marriage between the first two, where the first one was like this cheesy, crazy, evil robot, and the second one was just kind of a homogenized, like weaponized version of that was made to look more man-made. This one looks simultaneously like a badass battle robot while also looking like a piece of technology that feasibly could exist and function. So I like this one a lot. It's got big old mounted guns on its shoulders and on its hips and everything, and it's got like the cords that dangle from its arms over down to its waist, and it just looks really cool, and I like it a lot. And this Mechagodzilla has people inside of it piloting it, just like in a mecha show. They have like the little control handles in there, and yeah, I don't remember anyone's names, but I found myself weirdly fond of the human characters in this movie, even though they're not that remarkable or well written. They just had enough personality that I kind of gravitated towards them a little more, and I wasn't really bored hardly ever in this movie. Like the scientist guy I mentioned earlier, he sort of tries to make moves on the main character, the woman, and he's like way too awkward and way too obvious about it, so she doesn't reciprocate like anything at all. She doesn't even respond to them half the time. She just kind of starts talking to the guy's daughter instead, because the daughter clearly is like more well spoken, more well mannered, and is trying to reach out and form a relationship with this person. And yeah, I just like that a lot more. I like the way things unfold, how like there's a point about halfway through the movie, the first time Mechagodzilla confronts Godzilla, Godzilla lets out a roar, and the roar triggers something in the memories of Mechagodzilla, because the Mechagodzilla has the bones of original Godzilla in it, and original Godzilla's DNA is in those bones, and once the memories are triggered, that causes Godzilla to sort of take over Mechagodzilla's body and just go on a flat-out rampage. Like, its eyes turn red, and it just starts blasting missiles and shit everywhere, and it still has like an hour's worth of power left before it'll run out and die. So the Prime Minister and all like the government, everyone's just like, oh my god, like what have we done? Like this is happening because of us. And yeah, it just feels really cool, like it's really heavy stuff. And the big final, big fight that happens near the end of the movie is also really badass, because you've got the Mechagodzilla now, it has this thing called an absolute zero ray built into it, And the Absolute Zero gun, what it does is it blasts this big blue orb, and whatever the orb touches instantly just freezes in ice, and every single molecule of it is just broken down, and it just crumbles to pieces. And that's what their plan is to destroy Godzilla, is to blast him with the Absolute Zero ray. And they come very close to hitting with it a couple times. Of course they miss. They blast a few buildings with it at one point, just all the buildings crumble to dust. It's just like, oh my god, like, what have we done? Like, every time they mess up, it's like a huge unmitigated disaster. It's just crazy. And the final fight itself is really fun. It's also very anime-esque, because it's just got, like, there's a bit where Mechagodzilla's flying through the air, and then when it lands, it just body slams into Godzilla and just sends him flying. And there's a bit where, I can't remember if it was this movie or the one before, GMK. I'm pretty sure it was this movie, where there was a shot where Godzilla just walked through a building. Like, just straight up just walked right into the wall. No, it was this movie, because Mechagodzilla did it. He just walked into one side of a building and exited through the other. Like, just completely crumbled the insides of the skyscraper. It was incredible, and it looked really awesome. And during the final fight, there's like actual like punches being thrown, because Mechagodzilla's controlled by a person, so there's just this big Godzilla-sized robot punching Godzilla in the face and body slamming him and shit, like flipping him over, and just awesome stuff. And yeah, I mean, I think towards the end of the fight is when the Mechagodzilla starts to run out of power, and they have to go through the whole rigmarole of powering it up again by transferring power from the city's power grid, causing all of Tokyo to black out, transferring the power into the robot, and then getting it back up and running again. And then the final moment, the big climactic finish to the fight, is Mechagodzilla flying into Godzilla, grabbing onto him, like stabbing him with a sword, and then electrifying the sword, and then like flying him into the ocean and blasting him with the Absolute Zero gun underwater, causing the entire like bay to turn into ice, and this huge spiral of ice crystals like just explodes out of the surface. And it looks amazing, and the effects work in this movie is just all around really good. The one problem I have with this movie, well, two problems. The first problem being that building a robot around the bones of Godzilla makes no fucking sense. Second problem being that Godzilla doesn't die at the end of the movie. They just kind of leave it open, I guess because they actually wanted to make a sequel to this one for some reason. So this one gets a direct sequel, even though none of the other Millennium series movies do. And it just kind of feels like this one would have been a bit more satisfying and more climactic if Godzilla did die in that big icy explosion. But instead, Godzilla just swims away, and there's literally a scene of the Prime Minister being like, well, we didn't kill him, but we did manage to drive him away. This is a resounding victory. It's like it's like the fucking Hulk meme of like, I see this as an absolute win. Like, I don't. What are you talking about? This is still pretty disastrous. Like, you whipped out the ultimate weapon, the Absolute Zero gun, and that still didn't finish him off. So, and I don't even know why, because they were underwater when it happened, so I didn't see it. I didn't see if he dodged it or what. But the final shot of the movie is this really gorgeous shot of the woman, the main character, who piloted Mechagodzilla, like exiting it and standing on his shoulder, wearing like her soldier's uniform and holding like her helmet in her hand, and it just looks straight up like a poster for Evangelion or something. It looks beautiful. And I mean, yeah, those are really the basic reasons why I like the movie so much. It just looks really cool all of the time, and I found myself weirdly gravitating towards these characters that I'm pretty sure most people would just write off as being just as boring as any other character in any other Godzilla movie. I don't know why. I just like it, okay? I don't have to have a reason. I just found myself enjoying it. And I don't have to I don't have to justify, I don't have to give any more reason than that. I mean, I don't know if this one's really worth a watch or not. I don't know how strongly I can recommend this one, because I know it's one of my favorite Godzillas. But if you want to find out for yourself, go ahead. It's no big deal. It's not skin off my nose. I like it a lot. 8 out of 10.